Welcome to our channel where we update the most interesting analysis, predictions and stories surrounding the movie Beyond the Gates. If you are a fan of dramatic plots, breathtaking twists and mysterious relationships between characters, then this is the place for you. Today, we would like to send you a special article. Fictional and expanded based on the plots that are being interested in, to bring you an unexpected, emotional and unforgettable experience. That afternoon, the sky was heavy. Thick clouds hung over the sky of the peaceful small town, signaling a storm not only from nature but also from the heart of a father that was gradually breaking. Vernon never thought he would witness such a terrible thing in his own home. A place he once believed to be a safe, pure place, where he raised Dani with all the strictness and love. Only to be betrayed today by the intolerable choice of his most beloved daughter. Vernon came to Dani's house one evening completely unannounced. He brought with him an old wooden bag containing a few miscellaneous items and a small bottle of wine that he intended to give her on the occasion of the father and daughter not sitting down to talk for a long time. But what he did not expect was that when he stepped through the back door, passed through the living room and headed straight up the stairs to the second floor, he heard a strange noise from the room that was always locked when strangers visited. His footsteps stopped, his heart pounding so hard that it felt like it was about to burst out of his chest. A strange feeling of unease and foreboding surged through him, forcing him to step forward and push open the half-closed door. Before him was an unbelievable sight. Dani was in the arms of Ted, the name Vernon had sworn he would never let into his daughter's life. Ted, the man who had helped destroy the Dupree family's reputation. The man who had been involved in dark, dirty plots, the man who had secretly declared war on Vernon in the ruthless struggles between the two great powers. His presence here, in the very room Vernon had painted with his own hands to welcome Dani's birth, was an insult. Vernon stood still for only a moment, then his anger rose like a wild beast awakened. His blood boiled. His hands clenched, and he rushed at Ted like a whirlwind of unbridled rage. The sound of crashing echoed throughout the house. Furniture falling and shattering as the two rolled around in a clash filled with years of accumulated hatred. Vernon was no longer the gentle father, he had turned into a wounded beast. Insulted by his own blood. Dani screamed in despair, tears rolling down her face, but she could not stop the madness that was welling up in Vernon's mind. He could not understand why Dani, the daughter he raised with absolute loyalty to the family, could love someone like Ted, and worse, hide it from him all this time. No one could explain Vernon's feelings at that moment, when all moral principles, honor and family history seemed to be thrown away to make way for a love that was considered a betrayal. The first wound caused was not on the skin, but on trust. And when the violence was over, the aftermath was not only blood on the carpet, but also a deep cut in the once unbreakable father-son relationship. Ted, despite trying to defend himself, could not avoid Vernon's vengeful blows. But what was more terrifying was the look in Dani's eyes at that moment, a mixture of fear, pain, and finally anger. She did not scream for the police, did not intervene, but stood there, cold, like a stranger. After the attack, the news quickly spread. The whole town was shocked when it was learned that Vernon had assaulted Ted at Dani's house. The Dupree family fell into internal crisis, while Vernon's former enemies immediately took the opportunity to strike him. His small businesses began to be manipulated, his political allies turned against him, and secrets from the past were exposed bit by bit. But Vernon didn't back down. Instead of running away, he decided to fight back. He didn't believe that Ted was truly in love with Dani. He believed that this was a carefully calculated plot to sabotage him from within. And so he began a secret investigation. He hired an old acquaintance, a private intelligence detective, to follow Ted's every move. He began digging through old files, tracing the tracks of Ted's past dealings, and gradually began to paint a picture that was more horrifying than he had ever imagined. The story is no longer about love and betrayal. It has become a secret war between two generations. Two opposing views, two people willing to sacrifice everything to protect what they believe is right. Dani, after being beaten by her father's boyfriend in front of her eyes, cuts off all contact with Vernon. She moves out, moves in with Ted, and dives deeper into his world, a world full of traps. But for her, the only place that seems to accept the truth that love does not always have to follow the rules. Meanwhile, Vernon is not only fighting to get his daughter back, but also defending his family's honor against the waves of public opinion and attacks from hostile forces. He realizes that if he continues to act alone, he will lose. So he began to seek out old allies, old enemies, even those he once considered trash, to gather strength, rebuild a stronger, more fearsome underground network. And at that moment, a shocking secret was revealed. Ted was not just a reckless lover. He was the key link in a revenge plan that someone who had been destroyed by Vernon decades ago was secretly carrying out. The love affair with Dani was just the first step to infiltrate and defeat Vernon from his weakest place, the heart. What Vernon once thought was random now appeared clearly like a chessboard that had been arranged long ago. Ted's appearance in Dani's life was not a coincidence. The information that the detective investigated made Vernon dizzy. Not only is he a rebel who once fought against the Dupree family, but he is also the sole surviving heir to the Greaves clan, the clan that Vernon had cornered in a brutal power struggle 20 years earlier. Vernon thought he had won the war when the Greaves were disbanded, their leaders forced into exile, their properties confiscated, and their names erased from the town's history. But he was wrong. They didn't disappear, they hid, silently cultivating a plan of revenge more elaborate and ruthless than anything he had ever faced. Ted was the perfect pawn. Handsome, intelligent, and emotionally manipulative, he wormed his way into Dani's heart not only with false tenderness but also with a pained, meticulously crafted tale of her wounded past, to awaken her instinct for redemption. While Dani is immersed in forbidden love, Ted gradually restores the Greaves' influence, recruiting those who were once loyal, and reaching out to those who were oppressed by Vernon in the past. He stirs up the hatred that has cooled, fanning the desire to overthrow the symbol of power that Vernon represents. But Vernon is not easily subdued. He was born in turmoil, matured in blood, and maintained his throne with ruthlessness. When he understands that this is a life and death battle, he no longer fights for fame or his daughter, but for survival. He begins to play dangerous games, spreading false information, creating conflicts within Ted's faction, bribing the weak, and ambushing the underground bases that Ted is building. Meanwhile, Dani gradually changes. Her love for Ted is still there, but it is no longer blind. Ted's behavior, the secret meetings, the late-night calls, the unexplained trips, began to make her suspicious. One night, she accidentally discovered a map marked with strange symbols, hidden in a locked drawer in Ted's office. Her intuition told her that the man she loved was not all he said he was. But instead of confronting him, she chose to stay silent, silently observing, remembering every clue, and starting her own investigation, telling no one, not even Vernon. The deeper Dani dug, the more lost she became in the maze of truth. She discovered a list of people Ted was manipulating, including Vernon's close friends, businessmen who had long been associated with the Dupree family, and even some members of her own family. Dani no longer knew who was her friend and who was her enemy. She thought back to her childhood, the afternoons Vernon spent teaching her how to shoot, how to read her enemies, how to control her emotions to survive. All the things that had once made her hate him, now kept her sane in the chaos. Then the fateful day came. A huge explosion occurred in the warehouse on the edge of town, which was supposed to be Vernon's secret operations center. The whole town was shocked. The media rushed in, the police got involved, and Vernon was called in. No one knew if the explosion was an accident, terrorism, or Ted's counterattack. But Dani knew. She had seen Ted leave the house the night before, with a cold look in his eyes and no explanation. Dani is faced with two choices: to remain silent and let things fall apart, or to confront the man she once believed was her destiny. She chooses the third option, to meet Vernon, after months of estrangement. There are no words of forgiveness, no tears. There is only cooperation between two people who were once family, now a common enemy. From there, an unlikely alliance is formed. Vernon uses his resources to help Dani gain deeper access to Ted's system, while Dani provides information from the inside. The two play an extremely dangerous game, where even the smallest mistake can cause everything to collapse. But Vernon knows he cannot defeat Ted without Dani. Just as Dani cannot survive without him. In the dark, Ted begins to have doubts. He sensed the change in Dani's eyes, the coldness in her movements, the reserve in her words. He ordered his men to follow her, and the reports from his men became too much to ignore. Dani was no longer an easy pawn, she was plotting betrayal. And betrayal meant death to Ted. An assassination was planned. Ted did not want to kill Dani with his own hands, but he was willing to let someone else do it if necessary. But Dani had guessed. She set up a trap for Ted. Pretending to plan to leave town with him, even leaving a fake suicide note. That night, when Ted entered the small cabin by the lake, the place where they were to meet, he did not know that Vernon and his men were waiting in ambush. The final battle of wits took place in the darkness, where there was no room for mercy. Vernon confronts Ted, no longer angry, but with the calm of a man who knows his end is near. The final truths are revealed, about Dani's mother's death, about Ted's role in the town's mysterious disappearances, and about a secret Vernon has kept hidden all his life. Dani is not his biological daughter, but the daughter of his brother who died in a raid that Ted himself masterminded. But instead of shooting Ted as he had sworn to do, Vernon chooses a different path. He turns Ted over to his old enemies, the people he betrayed to rise to power. Betrayal always has a price. And this time, Ted himself falls victim to the web of betrayal he has created. After everything is over, Vernon leaves town, carrying a small box filled with old photos and handwritten letters from Dani. She stays behind, taking over the entire business. But not in the way Vernon taught her. She chooses a different path, open, transparent, and nonviolent. She wants to end the cycle of hatred that has lasted for 3 generations. But in the dark corners of Dani's mind, there is still an unanswered question: if Vernon had not attacked Ted that day, would things have gone this far? Or is it fate that no one can avoid, a tragedy that begins with a kiss, ends in blood and fire? The story does not end here, as the past, betrayal and unresolved secrets continue to haunt the lives of the characters. Love, hatred and loyalty will continue to be tested in the next chapters of the tragedy called Beyond the Gates. If you find this story interesting, don't forget to subscribe and follow our channel to not miss the next articles, where we will continue to exploit the hidden corners that have never been revealed and predict the shocking upcoming episodes. Thank you for always accompanying.